Today is the World Children's Day. It's about advocating children's rights and also celebrate their rights with them. Today I'm going to meet a girl, 15-year-old, originally from Beijing. Her name is Yang Hui. She's multi-talented. She plays piano well, performed with some of the best pianists from China, and she also writes novels, quite popular in this part of the world. And she's also doing figure skating. I just wonder how could that all happen. But you know what? Today I'm not going to ask many questions. Rather, I am going to be interviewed and be asked questions by her. Excited about this. I can hear the sound of the piano. Maybe I should follow it and find her. Very nice, Nian Hui. How are you? Very good. Yes. Nice meeting you.
Nice to meet you too.
Nice piece. What is it?
It's the prelude from Prokofiev.
Uh-huh. Did you like that piece?
I like that piece very much.
Who is the best pianist in your mind?
I think Lang Lang and Li Yundi.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I've even played piano with Lang Lang.
Oh, did you?
I did.
Did you enjoy it?
I enjoyed it a lot.
What piece did you play with him?
We played Radetzky March.
Okay.
And Jingle Bell as well, because it's Christmas Eve.
Oh, okay. Were you nervous at the time?
Actually, I'm not nervous at that time. I enjoyed it a lot.
Oh.
Like playing with the best pianist.
Yes, wow. Everybody would dream of that opportunity.
I think so.
What did he say at the end of it?
He says, I'm glad to play piano with you. And I was like flattered, you know.
But besides playing piano, I heard that you've been also writing novels, even English novels.
Yes, I am. It's called The Vampires of Lorraine. I created an empire called Lorraine, and the two teenagers in there, Rosalind and Tian, when their country are being attacked, they called on all the people, and they defended their enemies and finally succeeded.
What is the secret of writing novels? You know, I've been trying that too, but, you know, very hard, I would say.
It did take a lot of time. Like, I take a lot of time to go through my storylines and also think about the relationship between all my characters and the stories behind them, what they will do, their personalities. There are a lot of things to think about.
Wow.
A lot of teamwork in there as well.
Yes. Another thing that really requires teamwork is that you train with a lot of others on figure skating.
Yes, I do. We train together a lot. Let me show you one thing.
Okay. Wow.
We normally.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Really like a ballerina girl on the ice. How about that? Is it difficult to learn?
It's quite difficult at the beginning, but with my training, with the training going on, I think it's becoming easier for me.
I have to say, I've never dreamed of having so many skills as you have already acquired.
Thank you. You've been asking me a lot of questions here.
Well, that's my job, right?
But today, I'm here to ask you questions. I'm the interviewer today.
Okay, I'm ready for any of the questions that you have.
So I'm going to start with the questions. But I have another friend I want to introduce to you. So why not ask you questions while we're going there?
Okay, I'm ready, if you're ready.
All right, let's go.
Okay. That was a great piece you played.
Thank you.
Have you been practicing long?
Not recently, being too busy. You've asked me a lot about my talent. What kind of talent do you think you have?
I wouldn't call it talent, but I am an extremely curious person. I want to find out what's going on in the other parts of the world. I want to know the lives of all the other people, and I want to tell their stories. So I guess maybe that makes me a perfect journalist.
I think that's the reason why you become a journalist, right?
Yes, indeed. I originally started from a radio DJ, you know, doing rock and roll music and pop. But then I realized news is something that really attracted me. So I switched to news. Ta-da, there it is.
Do you think it's an exciting thing to being a journalist?
Absolutely. I mean, You will be able to meet people that you will never be able to have a chance to meet if you are not a journalist. And you go to the other parts of the world to see elections, to see children's lives, and also to see even wars, and realize at the end of the day, what is the most important thing in life? I guess happiness, being with the people that you really love. Mm-hmm. That's the most important thing in life.
I think you can do more stories about children, about our life, like in my age, because we have different world, different stories from adults. We have our unique ideas as well.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a great idea. You know, I did a story about a girl recently in Gansu province. She's coming from a poverty-stricken area, 12 years old, but she's so tough, very strong. She managed to do all the house chores and also brought her family together for a better life. I was really moved by her story. She gave me a lot of inspiration, just like you did today.
I think I want to meet her one day.
I will introduce, definitely. But now you want to introduce me to your friend, right?
Let's go.
Okay.
Miss Tian, I want to introduce my friend to you.
Oh.
This is UNICEF representative to China, Ms. Rana Flowers.
Okay, wow. What a pleasure to see you.
Pleasure to see you.
Shall we sit down?
We should.
Yes, let's. Please. So wonderful to be here. Rana, I have to warn you. Earlier, I was questioned repeatedly by this young lady.
Oh, boy.
And she said she has a question for you as well.
Okay.
Yes, I do. So, Rana, in your work with the UNICEF, what do you see as the biggest challenge facing teenagers?
I think today, the biggest challenge here in China facing teenagers is one of education. I see such a rapidly changing country. I see people needing a very different skill set for the jobs of the future. And I see the challenge for the young people to have the space, for their schools to really focus on ensuring that they have, that they're learning about how to be creative, how to be innovative, how to work together, how to solve problems.
What can adults do to prepare children and young for our future?
Look, I think if we're talking about parents as adults, I would say their challenge is to ensure that there's not so much pressure, that they're thinking about the vulnerabilities of young people. They're thinking about how to drive a passion for learning, how to make space for creativity, for sport, for the sorts of activities that actually help the brain grow in different ways. If you're talking about adults who are decision makers, I would say what they need to do is really put children at the heart of policy and at the heart of the investments that they make.
If you can have a conversation with your 15-year-old self, what advice would you give her?
If I were talking to my 15-year-old self, I would remind myself to be kind to myself, to remember that I can do things and I can change the world and I can be a part of that, not to be too hard on myself. I would remind myself to also treat others the way we want to be treated, because I think that's such an important lesson in today's world, that we look after each other. And I would tell myself to have fun. Childhood is about discovery, it's about learning, and it is about making mistakes and learning from them. So I would give myself a little bit of permission to make some mistakes and have a bit of fun.
I think that's some really good advice for us as well.
Thank you.
Rana, when I was listening to you, I really felt that actually there are a lot of wisdom coming from the children that the adults have not been paying close attention to. Even we describe people who do not know how to do things as childish. Actually, they have nothing to do with children. So maybe there's some kinds of prejudice that we have toward children. Maybe there are things that we adults really need to discover about a different part of the world.
Indeed. And I think, you know, you've made me think back to a time when I worked in another part of the world in Central America. And we brought in a young group of people, and they would have been between about 13 and 17 at that time. And we asked them about the problems in their communities. We asked them to solve those, yeah? And they spent tremendous amount of time talking, listening, exchanging information. And I have to tell you, the solutions they came up with were practical, they were implementable, and they were ideas and strategies that worked.
Really?
And what was interesting as well was that actually the parents benefited just as much.
Yeah.
Because they were isolated, they weren't talking to each other. So when they came to that community center, they also benefited.
So what about that world? I mean, do you have children?
I do.
Yeah? How old are they?
I have 2 adolescent girls who are 13 and 15.
Oh. Have you ever thought about the world? The 13 and the 15 begin to dominate. Well, and your schedule will be planned as they have demanded.
I don't need to think in the future about that world. I think that's the world I live at the moment. And I am such a strong believer in the Convention on the Rights of the Child and children's rights. So, of course, I need to practice that at home.
What is the secret to survive that world?
The secret, I think, to surviving that world is listening to children. I try and give mine space and a little bit of independence, and that depends on the age. You have to do it with their evolving capacities. I try and also give them limits. I make sure they're involved in the sports, in the activities that they want to play, as hard as some of those are, like rugby. And I try very hard not to get too involved in all the battles, not to get too involved in, the comments and the
Good for you. The UN should be neutral.
Exactly.
Yanhui is listening very closely to what you have just said. I just wonder what kind of conversation is going to take place in her home.
I think I might need to speak to your mother.
Well, the children, when they grow up, they do need a lot of support from the adults. One of the things is early childhood development. We see that has become such a big trend these days in the world. But different countries, Rana, with different development stages, have different, let's just say, possibilities of doing that. What have you found when you're traveling around the world doing your job?
But in all countries, we face challenges.
Right, but let's just take the example of China.
Yes.
Emerging, developing economy, a lot of migrant parents.
Yep.
And people have high expectations on their offsprings.
Sure.
How do you see the overall situation?
Look, I went to a village in Qinghai, and I visited a home there where there were one child, and the sorts of things I look for in a house would be books, toys, perhaps, parents interacting, and of course, with development, a lot of the parents are now working in other places. The children are cared for by elderly grandparents. Those grandparents don't necessarily have the information and skills in terms of what's nutritious to put on the table. So you saw, salty water being served to children without the vegetables, without the nutrition that their brain needs for their development. So that is one picture that you see, which is poverty in China. I think the other picture is children in urban areas, and we tend to assume that they're better off. And I think there are still a number, and this is recognizing all the advancements that have been made, but there are still a number who are living in poverty. But also we have a number of children who are perhaps in the middle-income families. Their families are doing better. Their parents have very high hopes. And they have a real desire for their children to have a good life. That translates sometimes into a lot of pressure, the kinds of training sessions that you're talking about, and it really isn't giving the children the wholesome experience that they need. And it's not giving their brain the development that it needs the challenge that it needs to develop. And that comes from sport, it comes from music, it comes from different activities, but it also comes from play and having fun. And having moments where you're not on the phone the whole time, put them down, and you can be creative.
But, you know, when you think about China, Rana, it's a very diversified place.
Absolutely.
So how to seek solutions? Is there a set of solutions that we can look at?
I think there are key interventions that can be taken by governments, and we've seen these work in other countries. I think high among those would be really to focus on children in poverty. If governments focus on the children in the poverty scenario, then you break into generational poverty. If you don't, you run the risk that those same children who've been deprived grow up and therefore fall into poverty again. So you want to break that cycle.
Yeah. So worldwide, probably there has to be a mindset change about our relationship with children. Yeah. How can we have that open-mindedness that, Rana, you've been talking about?
It's that period of between 0 and 6 shouldn't be about grilling children on the alphabet and on mathematics and etc. We should be doing everything we can to feed their brains as much as possible and give them space to have fun.
Thank you so much, both of you, for being with us.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.